Hi, welcome back to the power of model drawing. Now, today we are going to look at more complex problem, right? And it's going to be quite interesting because we are going to learn to draw the problem once again. So let's look at example 1 and see how do we draw out the problem. Now, Mr. Lee had a total of 378 apples and oranges. He sold 1/3 of his oranges and he bought another 14 apples. After that, or in the end, the apples he had was 1/4 of the number of oranges. So how many more oranges than apples did he have at first? So this is a before and after problem. Now, so for this kind of problems, which is before and after, we have another method which is called the before and after tabulation. So that method helps to solve the problem faster. But because some schools, they don't use this method, so what's going to happen is, so I will still have to go through the model drawing so that your method is accepted by your school. Alright, but other schools are teaching them on the before and after table. So it depends on the school. Alright, it all depends on the school. So if your teacher likes you to draw model, then you have to follow your teacher's style. So that's why Mr. is going to show you how to draw out the problem. Alright, but if you want to know how to, want to know how to use a table, right, the tabulation method to solve before and after problem, then you will have to go to another Facebook group, and in that Facebook group, you will see a lot of my before and after tabulation lessons. Okay, but right now, let's try to draw this problem, which is not very hard. Drawing out the problem is never hard. It's about using your logic, alright? It's about using some common sense and also some logic, alright? It's not really hard to draw the model as long as you keep practicing on the drawing. So Mr. Lee had a total of 378 apples and oranges. Can I draw the first sentence? So if I can't draw the first sentence, then what do? Then I will have to skip and jump to the next sentence. Alright, he sold 1/3 of his oranges. Can I draw that? Yes, I can. So I have 3 boxes, alright, and he sold 1 box. So let's label, and then this will be the leftover. Okay, very important to label, because if you don't label, then your model is not clear. How do you know your model is clear? When you label, or when somebody looks at your model and they can just look at the model to solve, and that is clear. But if they look at your model and they find that your model is not, no, they can't use the model to solve, then it means that your model is not very clear yet. And he bought another 14 apples. So we don't know how many apples. Is it more apples than oranges, or is it more oranges than apples? So we are not sure. So we can make assumption. We can guess. Later on, if you find that your guess is wrong, you can always erase your model. So I think let's have lesser apples. Maybe the apples are lesser. And then he bought another 14 apples. Okay, he bought another 14 apples. So let's, how do we draw that 14 more? You can just extend the rectangle a little bit. Right, that is your 14 more. Okay, then what happens? After which, the apples he had was 1/4 the oranges. Okay, now let's revise the model drawing. Alright, before we continue drawing, you can see that this is a before and after problem. So when I draw the model, I actually put them into one. You can actually separate out the model, the before on top and the after below. But if you notice, my model is all in one. Alright, so it all depends on how you want to draw. So where's the after model? This is the after model. And where's the before model? Where's the after model for the apples, which is the red color box? And the oranges, in the end, is the red color box. Okay, so that is the after, right? And the before is just now what you saw. Alright, then what happened? In the end, the apples became 1/4. 1/4 of the oranges. Okay, now we got a little problem, because why? How can the apples, which is only 1/4 or 1 time, be longer than the oranges, which is which is 4 times? Or let me just erase this part. Alright, so it doesn't make sense, or the drawing looks very weird, right? Because the apples 1 time, but it's longer than the oranges in the end, which has to be 4 times, right? 4 times. So which means that your model is not quite, you have to make adjustment to the model. Alright, so let's adjust the model. Okay, so how do we adjust the model? You just make it shorter. So when you draw model, it's never perfect. Alright, later on you realize that you may need to adjust. Alright, so adjusting model is also quite common, especially when you just started out drawing model and you don't quite know how to draw. So as you keep drawing and drawing, you find that you actually don't have to adjust so much because you become more experienced already. Alright, so let's draw the rectangle for the apple. Okay, so let's start with the apples at first. So maybe the apples at first is maybe something like that. Alright, that's the apples at first. And then he bought another 14 more. Alright, 14 more. Alright, and then what happened? So the after model for the apples will be this. This will be the apples in the end, right? And now the apples he had was 1. Okay, it looks a bit better now. 1 quarter the oranges. So the oranges in the end has 4 boxes. Okay, good. Alright, so how many more oranges than apples did he have at first? So where is the rectangle for the oranges at first? Which is until here. Okay, this is the rectangle for the oranges at first. Where is the rectangle for the apples at first? Which is until here. So you make use of dotted line, right, to help you to find how many more. So the how many more is between the two dotted lines, which is the question mark. Alright, and how do you connect the model to your problem? Now, if you realize that there is a number that we couldn't put inside just now, right? The first sentence, when we started drawing, we don't know how to draw, right? Or we can't put the number there, we don't know how to draw. So we go on to the next sentence. But now your model is done already. So can you connect your model to the numbers that you haven't put inside yet? Yeah, I can. How do I do that? So 378 is the total apples and oranges at first. Okay, so now we can put inside your model already. And now the whole model is completed. Alright, you draw out the model. And if all the numbers are put inside, then you can look at your model on its own, right? Purely by looking at the model. But if there are still some numbers that you haven't put into the model because you can't put inside, then you will have to try to connect the model to the numbers that you couldn't put inside. Alright? But since you have put all the numbers inside already, then what do? We can just look at the model on its own. Okay? So that's how you study the model, right? In some problems, you find that there are some numbers that you can't put inside the model. So after you draw the model, then you have to make connections. You have to relate the model to the numbers in the problem that you cannot put inside. Okay? Alright, but over here, we can put everything inside the model. So let's look at the model and what do? Now, you can see the oranges left is 4. But if you look at the model that you draw, you have 2 boxes left. So what do? You just cut 2, oops. Alright, you just cut, okay, let me just, okay. So you just cut every box into 2 units. So now you also have what? You also have 4 units, so 4 times 4 units. Am I correct? So, okay, now, and then the apples in the end has 1 time. So what do? Now, so it means that there'll be 1 unit, right? Okay, 1 unit, because the oranges in the end is 4 unit, so the apple must be 1 unit. Okay, and then what do we do next? Okay, then you look at the model, and can you add up all the oranges and apples in the end? Which will be, oh, by the way, don't forget to put 2 units here as well. Right, so you have to cut the model to be all equal. So how many oranges are there all together in the end? That would be 6 units. And then how many apples are there all together in the end? Which is 1 unit. But is the total in the end 378? No, it's not. That is the total at first. So which means that you have to add another 14 more to the total. Alright, add another 14 more to the total, and that's how you have total 7 units. Right, 7 units of apples and oranges all together. So now your 7 unit is equal to 378 plus 14. Okay, so what is that? That'll be 392. And then you can find 1 unit, which is 392, and divide by 7. And you get 1 unit is 56. Alright, where's the question mark? So how many more oranges than apples at first? So can you find 6 units of oranges at first? So 56 times 6, you get 336 oranges at first. Then can you find how many apples at first? You just take the total, 378 total at first, and you minus the oranges at first. And you'll get 42 apples at first. Correct? Okay. And how do you double check, by the way? If you have 42 apples at first, then isn't that 42 plus 14? That is 56. And isn't 56 your 1 unit? See? That's how you double check, alright? To see whether you're on the right track. Okay, then how many more oranges than apples at first? Then you take 336 and you minus 42. Okay, so 336 minus 42. Okay, let me just erase. Okay, so 336 minus 42, and what do you get? And you will get 294. So you have 294 more oranges than apples at first. And that's how you solve the problem. Let's check the answer key. Yep, it's 294. Okay, so that's how you draw the model, draw out the problem, right? And if you can put all the numbers in the model, it means that you have completely drawn out the problem. But if there are some numbers that you can't put inside, then you will have to look at your finished model and try to make connection with the numbers that you couldn't put inside. Okay, all right. So let's go on to example 2, which is very wordy and it's a 5-mark problem. Now in company X, the ratio of women to men is 3:1. In company Y, the ratio of the women to men is 2:1. And the workers in company X is 2. Third, the workers in company Y. So which means that when you draw the model, there are 2 boxes of workers in company X and 3 boxes of workers in company Y. So find the ratio of the man in company X to the man in company Y. Alright, so until now, this is not a before and after yet. Alright, but if you come to part B, then you see there's a before and after. 40 women left company X to join company Y. So there's a change, right? Before change, after. So there's a change. And the ratio of the women to the men in company Y became 51:25. So find the women in company Y now. Alright, very complex, looks complex. But don't worry, you always try to draw the model. So how do I know I can draw the model? Ratio, there's fraction. What happens if there's percentage? You can change the percentage into ratio, right? Or the percentage into fraction, all right? Into fraction, all right? And that's how you can draw the model, right? Percentage to fraction. Okay, so let's look at how we draw the first sentence. Now in company X, okay, so let's mark out label company X. The women to men, all right, women to men is 3:1. So you draw a rectangle cut into 3 boxes, and the man has 1 box. Okay, company Y, the women to men is 2:1. So women to men, 2:1. All right, so this is what you should be doing during the exam. You draw out something like this. So you're until here already. Now, the workers in company X is 2. Means the total workers in company X is 2. 2 boxes, 2 times, all right, 2 times. The workers in company Y, which is 3. Am I correct? So just third representation, right? What is third representation? You have units. For example, if you use units for company X, all the boxes are called units. And then company Y, all the boxes are called parts. And then you run out of parts and units to call already. So what do? You use a third representation. So what is that third representation? You put the 2 and the 3 and you circle it. Right? That's how I like to call it third representation. Okay, so find the ratio of men in X to the men in Y. Okay, so let's look at the model and what can we do with the model? Okay, there are no important numbers, right? So far, no important numbers yet. So if you look at the model, you can see that the total boxes in company X is 4. Am I correct? 4 boxes. And there's a 2. Total is 2. So I like to do this. 2 is 4 units. Okay, 2 is 4 units. Very simple. And then 1 must be 4 divided by 2. 2 units. Okay, then you come to company what? Company Y. So if 1 is what? 1 is 2 unit, then there's 3. 3 must be 6 unit. Okay, all right, so now let's cut the model. All right, let's cut the model to be all equal, to be all units. So if 2 is 4 units, then what do? Just nice. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, because I take 2 times 2. Am I correct? Right. So every 2 times 2 is 4 unit. And then, so altogether, if there are 4 units, then what happened? Then every box will be 1 unit. Okay? Alright. Then let's go to company Y. If 1 box is 2 unit, then 3 boxes will be 6 unit. How do I get 6 unit? How do I cut the company Y, the model, into 6 unit? I just 2 2, and 2. And that's how I get 6 unit, which is 3 times, alright, or 3. Alright, the third representation. Alright, so the 3 is 6 unit. Alright, so how do I get 6 unit? I can also do this times 2. And that's how I get 6 unit. Okay, so now your model for both companies are all equal, all units already. So now can we do part A? So what is part A? Find the man in X to the man in Y. Okay, so let's put down here. Man in X is 1 and the man in Y is 2, and that's your ratio, part A. Okay, right, so it's about 2 marks already. Okay, now when 40 women left company X to join company Y. Okay, then this is a before and after. Then every time if it's a before and after, what must you do? You must always think what is unchanged. So if the women left company X to join company Y, then what is unchanged? The men in both companies are still the same. Am I correct? Man is unchanged. Alright. Then the women to the man in company Y became 51 is to 25. So how about you do next? Alright. So can we look at the company Y? So company Y, you have what? How many women to men? There are, okay, women to men in company Y at first is 4 is to 2. Am I correct? At first. And then later on, what happens? Now, the women to men in company Y became, alright, let's put down, women to men in company Y became 51 is to 25. Okay? So this is the before and after ratio. Okay, before and after. Alright, in company Y only. Right, in company Y, let's recap. Company Y, how many units of women do you see? Isn't that 4 units? How many units of men do you see in company Y at first? 2 units, right? And then you have 40 women from company X join company Y. So now, what happened to the ratio? The ratio now became 51 is to 25 in company Y. Okay, so what is unchanged? So whatever that's unchanged, you make equal. So the man is unchanged, so what must you do? You times 25, and over here you times 2. Whatever unchanged, make equal. Okay, very important lesson. What is unchanged, make equal. So if 2 times 25, you will get 50, and 4 times 25 will be 100. Am I correct? And then how about the after? Now 25 times 2 will be 50, and 51 times 2 will be 102. So which means that what is the ratio that you see now? Now in the before ratio, in company Y, it is 100 is to 50. That is the ratio at first in company Y. And the ratio in the end in company Y is 102 is to 50. And can you see the man is unchanged? Right? Still 50, right? The man is unchanged. But what happened to the women? 100 became 102. So which means that how many units of women join? So there must be how many units? There must be 2 units of women who join. Correct? From 100 units of women at first to 102 units of women in the end. So you have 2 units of women who join, which is also 40. So your 1 unit is 20. So find the women in company Y now. So what's the women in company Y now? Isn't that your after ratio, which is 102 units? So 102 units will be 20 times 102. And you get 2,040 women in company Y now. Alright, so you can see that we have solved the problem already. So it's actually not that hard, even though it's very wordy. It looks complex when you first start to read, but you always think about what method can I use. And once you know you can draw a model, you can use model, then proceed on to what? Proceed on to draw out sentence by sentence. Don't worry about the solving, alright? Focus on the drawing. And when you can draw out the model, then what do? Then you make connections, alright? You try to look at the model and see what can you do with the model. Even if you can't get the answer, at least you get the steps. Meta marks out the steps. Okay, all right, so we come to the end of this model drawing lesson. All right, so stay tuned for the next online lesson. The problems that we are working on, the problems that we are using to show you how to draw the model, they are taken out from exam questions from other school exam papers. So you're doing something that is quite relevant. So who knows, you might see the same question in your school exam. All right, so okay, so that's the end of the lesson. Stay tuned for the next online lesson.